It's a strange thing. Some married couples actually aren't arguing less because their relationship got healthier. They've stopped arguing because, well, somewhere along the line, they just stopped believing the conversation would change anything at all. As we walk through this explainer today, we're really looking at this hidden, almost invisible emotional hopelessness. It's a quiet unraveling, the kind that doesn't make a sound. But it changes absolutely everything about how you live and breathe in your own home.
So when did you stop believing conversations change things? I know, it's a really heavy question, kind of uncomfortable to sit with, but it's this creeping emotional hopelessness that people rarely notice at first. And why is that? Well, because on the outside, the marriage still looks like it functions perfectly, right? The daily routines happen, the kids are fed. Those vacation photos you post, they look incredibly happy, smiling faces, beautiful scenery. But inside, disappointment has quietly become more normal than connection. Imagine a couple, let's call them Sarah and Michael, sitting across from each other at dinner. The silence between them, it isn't peaceful, it's heavy. Just heavy with all the things they've simply given up on saying. Think about the last time you reached out for your partner. And I don't mean physically, I mean emotionally. Maybe it was just this tiny, small bid for their attention, a random observation, a sigh, or just a quiet hope to be understood after a really long, exhausting day. And if you were met with a distracted phone screen or a quick dismissal or, that absolute classic phrase, "you're too sensitive," well, you probably did what most of us naturally do in that painful moment. You retreated. Just like Sarah, you adjusted. You softened your approach. You told yourself you'd wait and find a better moment, but eventually, maybe after the 100th dismissal, something inside you just stops. And the real tragic reality here is that it's not necessarily the love that fades first, it's the hope. The hope just quietly goes out. You literally stop trying to explain your heart. And honestly, the most heartbreaking part of this whole dynamic, Michael looks over, sees her being quiet, and assumes things are fine. He completely misinterprets this newfound quiet as peace. He just doesn't see the light going out. In relationship psychology, we actually call this the silent breaking point. It's this invisible threshold where a spouse begins the long, quiet process of grieving the relationship while they are literally still living right inside of it. By the time many partners finally say out loud, "I can't do this anymore," they've already cried in their car for months. They've already done the math on their own lives. They've already said goodbye privately. So that outward conversation you finally see, that explosive argument, it's really just the final chapter of a private grief that started years ago, behind closed doors, inside silent hearts. 6 years. Over at ReframeUs, an organization that's completely dedicated to helping relationships feel emotionally safe again, their data shows this staggering reality. Most couples wait up to 4 to 6 years after problems arise before they ever reach out for help. I mean, just think about what that means for a second. That is 6 whole years of surviving in a roommate phase. It's that devastating feeling of being emotionally homeless inside your own house. You're basically passing each other in the hallway like polite strangers, living parallel lives, sharing a mortgage, sharing a calendar, but not a soul. But I want to pause right here, because there is a profound promise we need to explore together. An emotional shift that can change the entire trajectory of a struggling marriage. Deep, lasting repair is entirely possible. It really is. Healthy relationships are not built through perfection. They aren't built by people who never make mistakes or never hurt each other, because that's impossible. They are built through the courage to actually look at the disconnection, just like Michael and Sarah are learning to do, and actively choose a different path. It's really about becoming excellent at repair. To find your way back, we have to understand this fascinating concept, the magician's misdirection. So in magic, the performer makes you look at one hand so you completely miss what the other hand is doing. Well, in marriage, we do the exact same thing. We focus all of our energy on the visible symptoms. We get trapped fighting over who loads the dishwasher or the tone of a text message or exactly how the money is spent. And we convince ourselves that these are the core problems, but they aren't. Actually, scratch that. They're the misdirection. The real hidden issue, the one happening in the other hand, is emotional disconnection. If you only try to fix the chores, you're just treating symptoms. To save the marriage, you really have to heal the connection. So how do we heal this? Well, the first step is a fundamental shift in perspective. We have to move away from this exhausting me versus you mindset and step into a we mindset. Think of it like a battle of strength where no one actually wins and only the relationship loses. There's this famous study where people arm wrestled. Most people locked into a fierce battle, right? Trying to beat their partner, straining, sweating, barely getting 10 touches. But the couples who realized they were actually on the same team, they reached 70 or 80 touches. They achieved so much more together simply because they stopped fighting each other. Which brings us to a really crucial question. In your marriage, are you trying to win the argument, or are you trying to win the game of life together? It's a subtle shift, but it is massive. When you stop asking who is right during an argument and start reflecting on this question instead, what is this pattern doing to our team? The entire atmosphere of the relationship shifts instantly. You can almost feel the defensiveness drop. You're no longer enemies glaring across a battlefield. You are partners facing a problem together. Step 2 is all about reclaiming the micro moments. Listen, connection is the absolute lifeblood of your relationship. It's a living thing. It's either growing or it's shrinking. It never just stays stagnant. And we often make this really dangerous mistake of hitting a pause button on love. We tell ourselves, oh, we'll get back to us once the kids are older or once work calms down. But love doesn't take care of itself. It cannot simply be paused. You have to nurture it through small, deliberate acts every single day. Let me give you some practical examples of what these micro moments actually look like from Michael and Sarah. It's the 6-second hug when Michael gets home from work, long enough to actually let the nervous system settle. It's the intentional hello, rather than just a passing grunt from the other room while staring at a laptop. It's asking a genuinely curious question about Sarah's inner world and really truly listening to the answer. Genuine connection is so often built right there, in the quiet, intentional 3 minutes before you fall asleep. It's in those small, consistent rhythms of returning to each other. Now, the third step is perhaps the most difficult, but it is absolutely essential. You have to trade your silent expectations for clear agreements. You see, expectations are the silent killers of intimacy. They're like these invisible traps that set your partner up to fail. You expect them to read your mind, to just know you need help, and when they don't, well, an unmet expectation leads directly to resentment. And resentment is the poison that eventually hardens into contempt. By moving toward clear agreements, we build safety. We build clarity. We start communicating with kind, clear, and consequential words. So instead of the defensive, critical phrase, "you never help," try forming an agreement. Something like, "Can we agree that I handle bath time while you handle the kitchen?" Just feel the difference in that tone for a second. It completely removes the blame. Agreements create a safe win-win environment where everyone feels supported rather than attacked. It naturally invites collaboration instead of sparking another defensive spiral. Next, we shift to a profoundly powerful concept, the art of active reflection. Look, the hard truth is, most of us don't really listen. We just wait for our turn to speak so we can defend our actions and finally win the point. But true emotional safety requires something completely different. To feel emotionally safe, your partner needs to feel heard. This means reflecting back what they said without adding your own defense to it. It sounds like this. What I hear you saying is that you feel invisible. Is that right? When a person feels truly understood, you literally see their nervous system relax, the walls come down. And for the first time in years, there is space for love to breathe again between a couple like Michael and Sarah. And that brings us to the deepest insight we can really offer you in this explainer today. Your relationship is not just two people. It's actually a living, breathing third entity that exists right between you. And it needs to be fed. It needs oxygen. If that entity is starving, you are both losing. You might feel like the spark is gone, but the spark is just a rush of hormones anyway. Real, lasting intimacy, that is a choice. It is a choice you make every single morning to keep that third entity alive by remaining intensely curious about the person lying next to you. If the concepts we've talked about today resonated with you, and you're feeling ready to go deeper into transforming your marriage through self-awareness and emotional understanding, I want to gently point you toward a resource. It's a Kindle book called Harmonious Marriage: Elevate Your Marriage with Self-Awareness. It's a beautifully compassionate guide designed specifically to help couples break these negative patterns we've discussed and build back that emotional safety step by step. And for those of you who are drawn to blending ancient principles with modern practical guidance, there is a second book worth exploring called Mantras of Love, based on Hindu wisdom. It takes these timeless principles and applies them directly to real-life connection. We've got both of these resources linked in the description below. Just remember, choosing to work on your relationship is never a sign of failure. It is a powerful sign that you care enough to try and to take that brave next step toward healing. I really want to reassure you right now, you are not too much. Your need for emotional safety is simply the baseline of a healthy life. So start small. I encourage you to take one brave step toward healing this week. Speak one true thing out loud. Say the thing you've been holding back. And then, just pay close attention to what the silence has been revealing.
We'll close on this deeply reflective thought. A healthy marriage isn't one that never broke. It's one where two people were brave enough to keep repairing the pieces together. Let that resonate for a moment. I truly hope this explainer leaves you feeling understood, maybe a little less defensive, and incredibly hopeful about your own relationship's capacity for repair. Thank you so much for joining me today. Keep reaching for connection, but ask yourself tonight, what is one small, broken piece you can bravely choose to repair tomorrow?